Hi everyone, so we've got a lot of feedback on the video we posted last week on can you vacate the property or give the tenant rather notice to vacate the property because you're listing the home. So I've got Sana and Vic back in the office today to quickly touch on that, and I'm going to comment as a lawyer today on some of the critical components of structuring a transaction. So Sana, what do you have to say about listing a property when it comes to listing a tenanted home?
So when listing a tenant home, I know that landlords really want to present that home in the best way possible. So for them, staging is extremely important. And in order to establish that while the property is tenanted can only happen if you have a cooperating tenant. And in order to do that, you really have to have a good relationship with that tenant. Vic is going to talk about that a little bit more. There's just one thing I want to add here is that when as a registrant, when we're putting contracts together for tenanted properties that need to be listed, and we want to get staged, we have to make sure that we structure our contracts really well to protect the landlord from any funny situation. So I think that's what I want to add in terms of my part. I'm going to pass it to Vikas, and I think he can further explain how important that relationship is.
Absolutely. So as Sana mentioned, the staging is one aspect of it, but as a registrant, we also want to ensure that our landlord and the tenants are maintaining that healthy relation. End of the day, we have that one end goal, which is to sell the property, and we want to do it with everyone's best interest in place. So we want to make do with both the landlord and the tenant, make sure they're all on the same page. The house is getting staged, as you said, accordingly, so we are getting a lot of traffic coming into the property, and then we want to make sure it's sold where both sides are obviously comfortable.
That's great feedback, guys. So to cover on the legal points that a lot of people had questions on, so first and foremost, you cannot give a 60-day notice to a month-to-month tenant or even an annual tenancy that's coming up for expiration in 60 days per se, simply because you're listing the home. In effect, when you look at the N12, which is the document you have to serve to the tenant, it says very clearly that, you know, I've got a firm deal on the table, not conditional, firm, and more importantly, the buyer needs the property for personal occupancy, for self, for spouse, child, parent, spouse's child, spouse's parent. There's no provision on that document which allows you to give 60 days notice because you're listing the home. You have to have sold the property firm. And touching on Sana's point, which is a very good one, your contracts have to be structured very specifically, especially when you're dealing from the seller's perspective. The default agreement of purchase and sale provided by OREA, it says very clearly that vacant possession is going to be provided. Now that's deadly if you have a tenanted property. You need to structure it so it says that first off, the buyer certifies that they're going to take the property for self or the other reasons that we've discussed. More importantly, if as a seller, as a landlord, you're not able to provide vacant possession in accordance with the agreement of purchase and sale, you need to structure it so that the buyer agrees to assume the tenancy. Now, procedurally, what happens is the landlord will serve the N12 on time. Once the N12 is served, we have a date of vacancy, which is the end of the month on the 60 days. And if the tenant fails to leave, the deal still closes as planned, and now you file the L2 online, and then you get your date in court. Once you go to court, you've got your contracts in place, you've got your certification from the buyer saying that they're moving in, you have all of that in place, you've got an affidavit from the buyer to that effect, and you get an order. Once you've got the court order, then you have to hire a sheriff or a bailiff, pay the money there, take a locksmith, change the locks, and have the tenant removed. So it's a lengthy procedure, and you have to really make sure that your transactions are structured in a certain way to make sure that it works out. And more importantly, if you're representing the seller, you want to make sure the seller's not found in breach of contract. So definitely reach out to Sana and Vic. They're experts in this. And again, powered by Rethor Bag. You don't list or buy with the guy you know. You list and sell with the and buy with the guys who know. All right, we'll see you guys next time. Watch this space for more content like this. Like, comment, share. We're always happy to be a part of your conversations.